Wrestling Fan Podcast. We're here with another installment. Happy to have Nate Jackson here with us today, the infamous originator of CRAMM. If you don't know what CRAMM is, you're gonna learn what CRAMM is today. Okay, so Nate, man, super honored for you to be on. This has been a long time coming, so to have this time, I truly respect you, and I'm glad that you're spending this time with me here on Wrestling Fan Podcast. So we want to dive in and just get to know you a little bit and talk about your experiences and where you're at right now and what you plan to do in the future. So without further ado, let's just get into it. I do want to find out where this all started, like when you started wrestling. But before I get there, let's talk about Olympic trials and what it felt like to prepare for that, be a part of that, and to give your maximum effort at something so amazing, right? To represent the country and to put it all on the line for that. Let's walk through your experience in preparation for that and speak on your experience at the tournament itself.
Yeah, I got you, man. And I love that this is called the Wrestling Fan Podcast because that's what this is. Anytime I talk to you, it feels like that brotherhood, that family connection. And it's crazy because this whole journey started off at such a weird time, right? Obviously, COVID is going on and it pushed the Olympics back. I think I was super ready for the trials, for the last chance and then the trials before this had gotten pushed back. But I had to actually change it up because our timelines were thrown off. So I had to get creative. I wasn't exactly competitively where I wanted to be. I had dropped some matches against some guys who I thought I was a lot better than. And how do you get better at wrestling? Sure, you can train. There's a lot of different things, mentality, all this stuff. And I felt like my training was good. My mentality was good, but I was underperforming when I was under those lights. So my team and I decided that, hey, anytime we get an opportunity to compete, again, like with the virus, paying as much respect as we can to the virus and being safe. And again, like I'm a family guy.
Right.
Decisions I make when I go outside my house, they affect the people within my house. So doing everything as safe as possible. But I needed to get more experience. And this year, I wrestled more than any other senior level athlete in the world. Not just between men. We're talking about men, women, Greco. Not just in the States, we're talking about all around the world. So that was a statistic my man John Kozak pulled up. He just signed with Flow. He's a good guy. He's gonna keep holding it down.
So you didn't intentionally go out to wrestle that much, but it just ended up being that much because you felt like you needed those reps and that experience under the lights to get past whatever you felt was that hump while you're under the lights. Is that what you're?
Absolutely. It was a conscious decision. It was a concerted effort. Like, hey, I need to get out there. And then you know what? If I lose out here, what's the difference in me losing at practice? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I wanted to lay it on the line and just get more comfortable being myself out there. And it happened. At the Olympic trials, I'll get into leading up to the trials because, again, I'm a family man and family stuff is first, you know?
Absolutely.
But at the trials, I wrestled a lot of guys that I had wrestled earlier in the year. I wrestled Miles Martin that I beat. I wrestled Brett Favre and I improved on my performance there. And I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with where I am from that tournament. Like I can look back and say, hey, that was a positive experience. Right. But for me, it's a catapult to what's next for me. So I finished 5th or whatever in Olympic trials. I ended up dropping matches to Aaron Brooks and Zahid Valencia, 2 well-respected, tough wrestlers, tough opponents. But I'm right there, and I think I can hang with the best guys.
Right.
And now I'm making the transition to 92 kilos. But for Worlds this year, I'm wrestling in a couple weeks, actually. Didn't super plan on it, but USA Wrestling just came out with their schedule.
Okay.
Wrestling in this event, the US Open, go get me a stop sign and wrestle at Pan Am's and do the whole thing before I win Worlds this year, 2021. So I'm excited.
Good stuff. So I appreciate you sharing that. So you mentioned the regional training center, and that's where you made your recent improvements. For those who don't realize, do you know how many regional training centers there are across the country? Because I say this because Nate, the landscape for American wrestling is growing, and it's great. You got great female athletes, wrestlers representing the country, great males that are representing the country and doing well overseas and winning these gold medals. So previously, who was it? Russia and Iran and some of those other teams that were traditionally continuously at the top of that heap, but you see more and more Americans at the top of that heap, and that's due to what we're doing domestically here and building these regional training centers across the country. So can you speak to the New Jersey Regional Training Center, which is where you're at, right? With Reese Humphrey and a few of those other coaches that you can mention, and talk about your experience and your training in there. Because when I see you in college versus you now, I don't know how you did it, but you've managed to just make leaps and bounds improvements. You can see it in your confidence, you can see it in your demeanor, and you can see it physically. You're physically stronger, you got an aura about you, you got an air, and you've won some incredible matches. So talk about that transition from college to the New Jersey Training Center, and where you're at and how that training is going for you.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to bring up. I mean, I think how you get better, people always think that it's this gradual, like incremental progress for 20 years and you just become a really good whatever. I would say it's more of a lot of plateaus and then some jumps, right? Mm-hmm. Plateau, jump, mm-hmm. Plateau, jump. I think that my transition from college to international wrestling style has been really exciting because I've been able to make these jumps a lot faster. In saying, hey, I don't want to stay in Indiana and coach, just there was no regional training center there. You talked about, how many there are. I think there's there's under 15 regional training centers in the country.
Okay.
What that means is it's hard to get diverse set of partners that meet your needs. And then of those regional training centers, only a handful of them have a full-time RTC coach. Right. Not a college coach that's dedicated to his kids, right? He gets paid for making sure his kids are good, and utilizing you, but a coach that's full-time dedicated to the senior level athletes. I think that's a huge point of why NJRTC is successful. We have Reese obviously there. He came a couple months after I got there. I wanted a real training situation. This is something that they talked about before I made the deal. Because I wanted somebody to be around the clock thinking about me as well. And even as a college athlete, and you can speak to it, you got to be your own best coach most of the time, right? It's a lot of people for that coach to look after and to consider. And sometimes it's hard to get that individualized attention unless you demand it. And the cool thing about RTC life, especially for me, is there's only 2 or 3 guys that are getting this attention. So especially when you're friends. So I'm friends with my coach. We have a mutual respect for each other. We have a coach-athlete relationship, but me and him are boys, 100%. And he cares about my training. I don't think he cares about it more than me because I'm not going to give anybody that, but he's hitting me up, giving me little nuggets all the time. Right. I think that really, it fires me up. It keeps me motivated. And we're grown, I got a family. I've had a family for a while. You start looking at opportunities and you get tired. Sometimes my back hurts. You know what I mean? You need to find motivation in a lot of things. You know what I mean? So to have people that really care about your development is so important. And then we just have fun with it at NJRTC. So a big part of my growth, when I was in college, man, again, I had 3 kids when I graduated from college.
At Indiana University, right? For those who don't know. Right.
When I was at Indiana University, so I started off, my son was born that first year. And then I had, we want our kids to be close to their age or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I had 3 kids by the time I finished. I was 100% doing my schoolwork and 100% working out. I wasn't having a lot of fun, at school. Right. And I could have been, but I've learned how to have fun as an adult in what I'm doing. So I enjoy what I'm doing. And I honestly believe that if I stop having fun with wrestling, that's the moment that I'm just going to be out of it because it's hard enough. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. If it's not fun, then hey, there are too many challenges. You got to make weight. You got to maintain a good, healthy mental, emotional stability. You got to physically train. If you don't like that, yeah, it's time to go. Because if you're not 100% in it, there's somebody out there that is 100% in it. And when you meet that opponent, you're gonna know about it.
Oh yeah,
they're gonna steamroll you.
I think we've all met that
guy. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of ebbs and flows in a career. So let's talk about that a little bit and bring it back, to where it all started. I think that's a good segue into that. And talk about where it started for you, which is where it started for me at the Harvey Twisters wrestling program, right? And segue that into, your high school and college.
Yeah, so for me, and so my dad wrestled a little bit in college, in high school, and he got the interest of it. And when I, started growing up, I was a super busy kid. If you let my parents tell it, they'll drag my name all over this show, but I needed some things to do.
Right.
And my dad actually started a program called the Fort Heights Falcons. And it was really a lot for him because he's a barber and he owns a shop. So it's like that was a full-time thing, but he was doing this because it was from a community that he was from in Fort Heights. And it was a way that he could give back and empower kids to just really get out there and do something that they haven't done. We all know the sports that our boys play, and wrestling is just not that sport, or wasn't that sport. But eventually I outgrew that, and he needed me to be good. He needed me to be solid if I wanted to continue this path. Yeah. So he wanted to send me to the best place, and the place that you helped build, Cassio Perot right here, a legend. But I think that one of the reasons that it worked so well at Harvey is they didn't just value the legends on the wrestling mat. They had a lot of respect and admiration for those guys who had the titles and all this stuff. But they really valued and they really spread a lot of love for the people who decided that they wanted to give back to those kids. And I think that means just as much when you're talking about people being positive role models. That room, and I guess the room was split into different parts, depending on your age. It was literally littered with male role models that, one, cared about you as a wrestler, two, cared about you as a young man, and brought you into their family. So what that created for all of us was insulation. And insulation is invaluable in anything you do. If you want to be a good student, be around a bunch of people who want to be good students or want to help you become a good student. If you want to be a good businessman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we were put in the arms of these guys and embraced. Obviously, Coach Quint, his impact on my life, it's unreal. And it's crazy because I don't talk to him and I'm not as close to him as I want to be right now. And this is probably the time that I could really utilize some of the things that he knows, and some of his wisdom. But what that group has done for kids for, we talk about, a long, long time, and just laying the groundwork, legends like yourself being connected to guys like me. I'm connected to those guys who are now coming up into the next group. I remember seeing Olympians in the room and national champions in the room. Mm-hmm. So when these goals get in front of us, you asked me earlier, how am I able to walk around with this confidence? I was a 2-time All-American, was nothing to scoff at, but this is different at this level. Absolutely. Everybody here is a national champ. You know what I mean? Yep. So how am I able to continue to grow as fast or faster than these guys? Mm-hmm. It's a lot because I think I belong here because I was raised in it. I think that Harvey teaches that. And if you watch the way I wrestled when I was at Harvey, I wrestle the same now. Obviously, I'm a little bit more skilled. I got a little bit more savvy here. But if I go show my technique at Harvey, they seen that stuff before.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot of synergy there. And for me, it just kind of carried over into high school where, you find good partners. A lot of that stuff that you learn as a kid, how to be self-driven, how to hold yourself accountable, because those dudes stayed on me, man. Like if I'm laying on the wall or I'm dragging, I'm not running hard, whatever, I knew what that looked like, and I knew what it felt like because you always had those watchful eyes on you. You could feel them. So now when I get away from that, when I'm at Indiana University and the culture is a lot different,
Right.
I still have that I still feel that gaze where there's a greater purpose. There's something more that's called out of me if I'm going to be putting my time into something. So I always value that, and I'm really reflective of it now as a man and thinking about where it's, what it's taught me just and being a man and going through those tough things. It's invaluable, man, and I owe a lot to that club and the men that helped develop me and so many like myself.
Yeah, well said, Nate. With that, let's talk about CRAMM. So CRAMM, I don't even think CRAMM was born during your collegiate years, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think CRAMM was birthed with your transition from college into blazing the international scene. So talk about CRAMM, tell everybody what CRAMM is and who CRAMM is about. Because I have a feeling it's more of a persona and what you bring. When I see CRAMM, I get fired up. That's what I'm talking about it right now. When I see it on Instagram, when you post it, I get fired up. And I hope other listeners and people who follow you get fired up too, because that's what it does for me. Because it's a symbol. It's a symbol of, the energy that you're going to bring. You know what you're going to get when Nate steps on the mat. You better watch out. You're going to get CRAMM. You're going to get double A. But I want to let you talk about it.
You got it, man. You're hitting it on the head. This is exact. So you hit it on the head with the persona. CRAMM for me, I'll tell you the origin. But for me, what CRAMM is, it's a mentality. When I step on the mat, I'm willing to put my head through a wall. If somebody's putting their head right in the way, I'm willing to go right through that wall if that's what it takes.
Right.
I look at guys like Jordan Burroughs, who, every time he's wrestling, he has a tape over his face and his eye, because it's a fight, man. It's an organized fight. And sometimes I found myself losing a lot of matches because I'm playing this cat and mouse game where it's really like, yo, are you a lion? Just be a lion. And the cat and mouse game is over right away. For me, it's a great filter. If I hit somebody with a double leg off the whistle, hey, I'm gonna do this. I'll tell you right now. When I wrestle my next match, I'm gonna shoot a double leg as hard as I can. And if they stop it, then guess what? This guy is tough. Or the next time I shoot it, he's gonna move his head out of the way. And then I'm gonna hit him and I'm gonna score, and the match is gonna be over. It's a great filter. And the guys who see it coming and they don't want it at all, then they're gonna be out of there right away.
Right.
So I think for me it was just a mentality thing, but it arose overseas in Minsk, Belarus.
Okay.
It was my second international competition. My first international competition was growing great. I was wrestling in Vladikavkaz, Russia, in one of the toughest tournaments in the world, arguably just as tough as the Euregan, which is a highly respected tournament. My first opponent, there was like 30 Russians in my bracket. It was me and 30 Russians. My first opponent, I was up 6-0, double arm throw right to my back, right? Tournament over because there is no repechage if the guy doesn't make the finals. So I was sitting a lot. My second international competition, I'm happy that I stayed or I went to this first one because I was able to train over there and get a feel for those guys. Even in my loss, I still had like 3 days of just training. So it was good. And in my second one, it was like, hey, man, what are you going to be? What do you want to do? This guy came here and made a name for himself. This guy came here and made a name for himself. Alexander Medved, they didn't want me to wrestle at the Medved. They were going to send a different guy and different delegations, re-squeeze me on there. And, guys knew that I was, people knew about me here that I shot double legs, but those guys overseas had no idea.
Right.
So I really used that tournament to kind of catapult myself and had a lot of fun. Big shout out to Tony Baker Comedy, because my man is hilarious, and he would make these videos of Rams literally ramming to each other, or Rams knocking over men.
I've seen him.
And his voiceovers were hilarious.
Yeah.
Me and my boy Reese, the whole tournament, while I was cramming these dudes, lacing them up like 10-0 tech, 10-0 tech, 10-0 tech into the finals. And then I got a day off. So I got a day off in between the finals. Okay. And me and my boy Reese were watching each match and thinking about these videos that we were watching from Tony Baker of the voiceovers. Right. And he's like, man, yo, if you win this tournament, you got to do the voiceovers for this whole tournament. I'm like, oh man, that's corny. That's not funny, whatever. Basically won the tournament on a super high, obviously. Crazy experience for me. Still, honestly, still the most high I've ever felt. I won state title, all this stuff. It's great, but that high was a little bit different. Where you're beating the guy who I beat in the finals is number 7 in the world. He's on the Olympics, or he's at the Olympics from Uzbekistan. Tough guy. And it was really cool for me. Made the videos because wrestling is it's a weird sport, man, where you can go accomplish the craziest thing ever. You could go achieve everything that you ever wanted to do in your life. And at the end of the day, they want you to be like, I was supposed to do that. Like, hey, man,
listen, I love the entertainment value that you bring to the game. Like I said, it makes it exciting. It makes it more interesting. And as we grow this sport, I think you're not going to necessarily grow it without that. You know, I love highlight Humphrey. I like Reese Humphrey. I told him that at a tournament. I can't remember what tournament it was, but I walked up to him. I told him, hey, I love, following you on Instagram is super exciting. Just wanted to like tip my hat to him. Same thing with you, Gable Stevenson. I like, stuff he posts, and just folks who bring a lot of flair, attitude, and character to the sport, because a lot of people just see us wrestling, like you said, but they don't know the people behind the wrestling. And like you said, traditionally, you can't even really celebrate, or it's like, what is he doing out there? Like, how much hard work we put into this. If I want to do a backflip, if I want to go, I want to be able to do that. So it's there's so much that goes behind it, and so much sacrifice from like our family for us to be able to compete at this level. And when you do have those victories out there, you want to be able to let it out, and with social media, I think it's a good medium for folks to add that character, and it can only be a good thing in my opinion. So
for sure, man. For sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Okay. Well, I was just going to segue that into family, since I had mentioned family. When I look at you, man, I'm super impressed. You started, you mentioned having children while you were in college and juggling that whole thing. I've been married for a short time, but I know that's the center of my universe, the center of my world. So any venture that I do, any business that I do, they're in my thoughts and at the forefront of how it impacts them. So you've had that for a longer time than me. So I want to give kudos to your wife for holding it down, holding you down, holding your kids down. And I want you to just talk a little bit about what it's been to be a great man, a great positive role model, because I see you, I talk to you, and your family has smiles on their faces, and they're taken care of, and I think it's worth mentioning that you're doing such a great job on and off the mat. And I want to just bring that to the table for just a second.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate my wife through this process. She has been with me since I wasn't a man, since I was a boy. We've been together since I was 17, she was 16. And I barely even had a girlfriend before I met my wife, and I'm super blessed of some of the things that I was able to avoid because of her presence, because of her always keeping me lifted up.
Yeah.
And I'm I say I'm blessed, God leads you to strong individuals when you have a strong calling for your life. And I honestly don't think I would be where I am right now if it wasn't for my wife's leadership. People always look at me as the leader, and when you say I'm holding it down, like, I pride myself in being in a position that I can provide for my family. I can take care of my family. Mm-hmm. My family, my people don't need anything. They don't want anything. They don't look for things outside of our household. And that's something that when I go to sleep at night, that makes me feel good, and I can take that, I can say that's all me. But the reality is, it started with a juggle. It started with a conversation. It started with me throwing that ball to my wife and hoping she catches it, and then her throwing that ball to me. And right now, she's in a great phase in her life where she has some really big things going on, and it's not always celebrated at the same way. And when you do things, but everybody has calling, and it all happens at different times.
Right.
So I'm actually in a position where I can be as supportive as I ever wanted to be to my wife, and just kind of return those favors, because there's times that, of course, like we're not 100, we're not 100% happy all the time. There's people that she had to sacrifice a lot. And there's
Sure.
times where I didn't even understand that she was sacrificing. I didn't understand that she was hurting. But you know, God allows you time with people so you can learn more about those people and our journey together. Again, so we would be together for 10 years, July 4th.
Man, that's awesome.
We'll be married for 8 years at the end of next month.
That's
so
great.
It's a blessing, man. It's really, you know, I think, who am I as a person? Like, I think I'm that, like, more than anything. And what I do with my time, I'm trying to have a good time and make sure that I keep the stuff intact while also caring about how I can lift these people up around me. And again, like, my kids, man, they bring me so much joy. Being a dad, like, even when I was young, man, I didn't really know how to be a dad when I was in college. Like, I knew what a dad was and I was there, but to be a father, to lead, to guide, to always give that encouragement in the right times, at the right moments, when the kid's ready. It's an unreal experience, and I'm really having a good time with my life right now. And I don't want to be a person that settles, but, like, you know, like, I say this and I feel weird about saying it, but, like, I feel like my life honestly is a completed checklist if everything stopped right now. You know?
Right.
Where if everything stopped for me, my kids know who their dad was. I feel like my wife knows how I feel about her. And obviously at this time, it's a time of reflection where people are losing their lives every day. My wife is losing family members. COVID is going on.
Yep.
I know we've experienced a lot of bereavement in our family. You know what I mean? So, you know, not taking things for granted, living with gratitude. I'm trying to be better at being somebody who gives life to different people. Because I think, you know, if you're a believer and God gave us life, we have the ability to give life too. We have the ability to give life to people through our words. And we can also speak really negative things over people. So if we can just try to touch people in a positive way, which I try to use my platform from. And sometimes I go on my rants on social media and all this stuff, but I try to do it from a place of giving life. If it's giving life to a discussion that leads to more life, that's what I want to be at the center of. And, you know, I think for me, like, my wife asks me all the time, like, you know, what do you want? What do you want to do? What makes you happy? I think wrestling right now is what I like. I'm thinking about how I can maximize my wrestling, because there's been different times in my life where I checked in and out of wrestling, even while I was doing it. Right now I'm rejuvenized to go pursue my goals and being a world champion. But at the same time, I'm being all of these things.
Exactly.
My head coach at Indiana, you know, all these guys, you know, your head coach just is retiring as well. There's a new guard. There's new coaches that are emerging and all this stuff, and it's good for the sport. But my coach, you know, he had a lot of great. He had some not so great. One thing that he said to me that sticks out was, wherever you are, be there. And he was one of those guys who was a little word. He didn't say a lot, but for me, it meant the world. Because I was at a time where I was trying to juggle things, trying to be half here and half there. Right. You can't do that. You can't be half a father and half, you know, a provider. You have to be both all the time if you want to maximize your impact. You can't be half a father and half a husband. And some of those things conflict sometimes on being a good husband and a good father, you know. But if you are 100% in wherever you are, whether it be your career, whether it be your you know, taking care of your body, all these different things, I think that you can get the most out of life. So that's what I'm trying to do, trying to figure out how to do that. I'm trying to reorganize my time so I have more time for the things that are important. You know, and just really trying to keep my people lifted up. That's it.
Makes sense. And I'm 100% in the same boat. I'm with you. Just so you know, me and my wife, our prayers are with you and yours. I know you mentioned the opportunity where she had to support you and you have to support her now. So our prayers are with her endeavors and you know, the strength that you might need to take care of everything, hold everything down in your time of making sure she gets what she needs at this time, man. We wish you guys all the best. So reaching out, helping other people, it seems like a big part of your life. You're wearing these different hats: husband, father, competitor. It's amazing, but there's more out there, right? You have BWA, which is Black Wrestling Association, which is another nonprofit organization that was recently launched. And I want you to just speak on that and talk about your position within that organization and like where you see it going, the vision, and what you see for its future.
Yeah, so Black Wrestling Association was created to inspire, connect, and empower Black wrestlers and allies to grow wrestling through representation, equality, and opportunity. We were established actually in June of 2020, and it came at a time where there was a lot of national unrest for circumstances that are still going on today, where an unarmed man was killed, and it was recorded, and it was brutal to watch, and it was traumatizing to watch for a lot of us. And us as wrestlers, like we're wrestlers, but we're humans first, right?
That's right.
So our humanity came into question. I confided in some of my brothers. You were one of those guys who I talked to, to figure out like purpose and direction on what I can do to maximize my platform and not just create some type of movement or whatever, or create a hashtag or anything, but actually figure out how to order that into formative change in the world. So if that means creating inspiration that another group can see, and then they can create that inspiration and create these resources, that's what it's going to take. So during our formation, it's quite a few of us, and some of us are in prominent positions around the wrestling community. We really thought it was important to establish some really core goals. You can actually look us up on blackwrestlingassociation.org. Also, we have a social media. It's at _BW Association.
Okay.
That's Twitter and Instagram. And honestly, I think it couldn't come at a better time, but a lot of the issues that are facing Black wrestlers are the same issues that are facing disenfranchised Black individuals around the country in a whole. So if we can bridge gaps within our niche community, I think that we can actually create something or a model of something that can mirror progress in society. I think that there is a lot of change happening as we speak. Obviously, I don't want to get into the names of individuals that are dropping recently.
Sure.
But the support systems that we've established in our own communities, black folk, white folk, it seems like people are starting to take notice that some of these issues aren't going to go away unless you actually take them head on. So I think that the wrestling community is what better place with individuals who are leaders and who are leaders thanklessly, because wrestling, again, everybody always says it's a thankless sport. It's tough. You're not going to get rich doing it. We have a choice in that. We can say, hey, you can get rich being a wrestler because of the opportunity that we're going to create.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, we have individuals that pride themselves on living a certain way. What you get in is what you get out, or what you put in is what you get out. All these values. So our value system is called into question when we don't create change when some of these things are happening. When you see your brother hurting and you're my friend, if you see me hurting, it's your job to reach out. That's on you. Me hurting, it doesn't make a difference why I'm hurting, but if you're my brother, you are supposed to see some solutions. And the people who are hurt the most are actually looking for the solutions, and we're gonna be the ones pushing the envelope. So I'm pretty excited to be one of the heads of this charge, but it's gonna take everybody, 100%. I think one of the big reasons that this Black Wrestling Association was established is Kyvan Gasson actually challenged me on what I was actually doing. And I was talking about doing a push-up challenge or something like that. Like, man, we're talking like, wait, when I look back at it, it's like, wait, man, what was I thinking? He's like, what are you doing in your life that you can keep the promises to the people that you care about? So you told your son that you were going to protect him. Can you actually protect him in our world right now, all the time?
Right.
Not necessarily, right?
Right.
Not if some of the truths that we know that exist in the world are able to go unopposed. So, you know, when I think about legacy, and we think about, you know, we talked about Harvey Twisters, they laid foundational legacy, man. That the staying power there, the next generation is carrying that on. You're a part of that. I'm a part of that. We take our mantle, we take our place in helping and reaching back, right? This is the same thing that I want Black Wrestling Association to merit. And when if my son chooses to be a wrestler, he's gonna have a North Star to look to and say, I can do this because of that. I can do this because of this. And these are the reasons why I'm gonna be successful. And if that can be an example to the greater community outside of our sport, then I think the mission for BWA is gonna be fulfilled. But for me as an individual, I don't think BWA is going to embody everything that I see that needs to be changed within just a greater society. So that means that my work is not going to be done. But this is one avenue where that I think I can exploit and I can use my platform at the maximum level.
And I'll pick up there. And congrats on BWA, you know, forming that, getting excellent partnerships and some high caliber individuals to build that with. I think there's nothing but positive things that are going to come from it. And I know it's going to be successful, but I just want to speak on the point you just made. It's hard, you know, you might not reach every single aspect or touch on every single issue that Black and brown people have, but know for a fact what you're doing is enough. It has to be, because you can't be a politician. You can't be a teacher. You can't be all these professions where we have gaps, right? We have gaps in education. We have a wealth gap, a generational wealth gap that's going on. So many issues at so many different facets of life have deficiencies and need an equity spin on it and attention that you as one individual can't possibly cover everything. I think that is what is so challenging about being a Black man or woman here in America, is because you wish and pray that you can be everything and do everything and help in every single way, because it all matters, right? You know, where you go to school, education matters to, you know, where you go next for your life, or your hospital, you know, if there's deficiencies in your healthcare that directly correlates to your lifespan or your ability to care for yourself and your family. So there's so many aspects that we have deficiencies that we need improvement, that it's troubling. It keeps you up at night that you can't do every little thing. But your piece in this with BWA is awesome. So have peace in your activism, your choice to take action in that organization, and it will be successful. And there's folks in these different avenues that are doing their best to move the needle, right? We've been moving the needle for 400 years. So when stuff happens, it triggers us. When you say some of these issues pop up, and you mentioned Black and brown folks losing their lives out here, that's, you know, police reform and things like that, and trying to figure out how we can spare lives and have due respect as white folks or anybody who's not Black and brown, right? So the data is out there, the statistics are out there that it happens to us at a disproportionate rate. So you can't argue that, right? That can't be argued. I know folks argue about it all the time, but you know, the proof is in the pudding. But Nate, what I want to say is you're doing great. I'm excited about BWA. Go follow that, listeners. If you're listening, go follow that. Mention the website one more time.
blackwrestlingassociation.org or .com, whatever you put in it should take you there. And then BW Association _ and that's Instagram and Twitter. You can also follow me, and then you can follow the links that I have on my page. My name is just Nate Jackson, _ on Instagram and Twitter. And then, yeah, man.
Yeah, and keep doing what you're doing. You said you got a tournament coming up in a week, right?
So it's the 30th. Yeah. So is that a week? See, hey, I've been wrestling so much, man. Yeah, it's a little over a week. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm a win. So if you want to come see the CRAMM in action, I'm gonna be juiced up too. So I'm wrestling 92 kilos, which is a little bit heavier. I'm gonna have a little bit more energy. I'm excited to put on a show. I think this is my weight class. I've been talking to some of my friends, and we're all excited to get back out there.
Right. Well, good stuff. Pulling for you, man. Sending my blessings, my prayers, my love, my energy, my strength to you, brother. So do a great job, and we'll definitely be in touch. I'll wrap this thing up. I want listeners to go ahead and follow Wrestling Fan Podcast as well. Instagram, Facebook. Expect more content. It's a pleasure having Nate Jackson on. Hopefully you'll join us again. And we need Highlight Humphrey on here too. I definitely want to speak to that man. And Kyvan. I'm gonna reach out to Kyvan Gadsden. We got to get him on here, and have some more content. And this is good, fruitful conversation. I like where this is going because there's wrestling. There's a lot of wrestling content and things to speak on with that. But obviously, we're much more than that. And each of your endeavors, each of the hats you wear, I wish you blessings and much success. All right.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for having me on and taking the time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Such a role model for me as an individual, as a wrestler, as a man of God. So
thanks for that.
Blessing to you, and you keep holding it down, man. It seems like a lot of great things are coming your way.
Thanks for that. I appreciate you, Nate. All right, until we talk again. All right.
All right, talk soon, man.
Take care, my man.